Hello students, today we are continuing with biology class 12th new syllabus chapter number 14 ecosystem and energy flow. Today is the fourth lecture of this chapter, that is ecosystem and energy flow. Topics that we have studied in our last lecture were types of ecological succession. We have studied two types of ecological succession, primary succession and secondary succession. Now let us see the topics that are deleted from this chapter, that is 14.1 ecosystem, 14.2 energy flow, 14.3 ecological pyramids, 14.4 nutrient cycles, 14.6 ecosystem services. Okay. Topics that you need to study for exams are 14.5 ecological succession that we have already started studying. We have studied majority of the part of ecological succession. We have studied types of ecological succession. Okay. So today again we are going to study types of succession, but that will be based on nature of habitat. Okay. Last time we have studied there are two types of succession, that is primary succession and secondary succession. Today again we are going to study that there are two more types of ecological succession, but these two types are based on nature of the habitat. Habitat means the place where an organism lives, where an organism stays. Okay. So primary succession is, we can consider that primary succession is divided into two parts, that is xerosphere and hydrosphere. When I say xerosphere, it means very dry area, dry environment. We can say desert area. And second one is hydrosphere, means wet environment where water is present. Okay, very wet area where wet water is present. Xerosphere is also known as xerarch succession, and hydrosphere is also known as hydrarch succession. Okay. Now let us study this each one in detail. Hydrarch succession. Hydrarch succession means it takes place in wetter areas. Okay, wetter areas means in water. Okay, and the succession series progresses from hydric to the mesic condition. The succession series is going on from hydric condition to the mesic condition. At last, mesic condition is achieved in hydrarch succession. Okay. Next one is xerarch succession. Same, it takes place in an area, in dry area. Okay, there we need to write hydrarch, we need to write wet area. Here we need to write dry area. And the succession series progresses from xeric to mesic condition. Means in both the place, in both hydrarch and xerarch succession, at the end we are going to get mesic condition. It is going to lead to mesic condition. Now what do you mean by mesic condition? Mesic condition means neither too dry nor too wet. Okay, mesic condition means neither too dry nor too wet. Means it is not too wet or not too dry. And both the succession, primary or secondary, at the end it is going to lead to the mesic condition. Now let us see the stages of succession in xeric condition. When I say xeric condition, in primary succession, it begins on rocks. Definitely xeric condition, dry area. Okay, that means in desert area, rocks are present. And on those rocks, what is present? Lichens are present. On the rocks, lichens are present as the pioneer species. Okay, these lichens are present, you can see here. And these lichens secrete acids. What lichens are doing? Lichens are secreting acids to dissolve the rocks. And this process, when lichens secrete acids and the rocks are dissolved, it is known as withering. We say that it has withering of rocks. And when the rocks are broken down into small particles, it leads to formation of soil. So is it clear? I repeat it once. In primary succession, it begins in rocks, on rocks. Okay, rocks means crustose lichens are present on the rocks. Definitely there is nothing on the rocks, but only lichens are present. These lichens secrete acids, and because of that acids, the rocks dissolve. And this process, when the rocks are dissolving, is known as withering of rocks. And when the rocks are broken down, it leads to the formation of soil. Okay, it leads to the formation of soil. Next, when soil is there, it leads to the growth of bryophytes, mosses that hold in small amount of soil. Okay, when there are soil present, what it is going to lead now? There is going to be the growth of bryophytes and mosses, and that growth is then succeeded by herbaceous plants, and finally it is going to lead to climax forest community. Okay, finally what is formed is stable climax forest community. So how the succession takes place in xeric condition is, first rocks are present, on the rocks lichens are present, lichens secrete acids, because of the acids rocks are broken down and it leads to the soil formation. When there is soil, it leads to the growth of bryophytes and mosses, and that are succeeded by herbaceous plant, and finally climax forest community is formed. We can say stable climax forest community is formed. Okay, so see your stages. First rock, lichens on the rock, then small annual plants, lichens are there on the rocks, and it gets broken down, soil formation, then again perennial herbs and grasses are growing. It leads to the growth of grasses, shrubs, and finally shaded tolerant trees, that is climax community is reached. Pioneer, intermediate stages, and climax community. So this is the way in which xerarch succession is going to take place. Next is stages of succession in aquatic condition. When I say aquatic condition, the initial plants that are present in water are known as phytoplanktons. The pioneer plants that are present in water are known as small phytoplanktons. These phytoplanktons grow and it leads to the formation of rooted submerged plants. Example for that is hydrilla. Then it further grows and forms rooted floating angiosperms, and the example is lotus. Next, it leads to the formation of free floating plants. Example is pistia. That leads to the formation of reed swamp. Example, typha. That leads to the formation of marsh meadow. Example, cypress. It leads to the formation of scrub. Example, ulnus. And finally, trees are formed, and lastly, in the climax community, forest is formed. Okay, so let us study this with the help of a diagram. First stage, phytoplankton stage, means small plants are there in the water. Second, submerged plant stage, some small plants are growing, but they are found to be submerged condition, half in the water, half above the water. Then submerged and free floating plant stage, that means these plants are there which are free floating. Okay, you can see here free floating plants are found in the water. Next is reed swamp stage, that means these plants are growing to some extent. And then marsh meadow stage, still they will grow. And finally scrub stage, and last climax community is reached. So in this way succession takes place, hydrarch succession takes place in water. Okay, the stages are phytoplankton, rooted submerged, rooted floating stage, reed swamp stage, sedge meadow stage, woodland stage, forest stage. So this is the way in which succession takes place in hydrarch condition. Now moving on to the secondary succession. Here this is the example of secondary succession in forest after fire. You can see here we need to study this diagram. First, initially forest is there. Then forest fire. Because of the fire, what will happen? Several forest fires are there. Because of the forest fire, what happens? Total nudation of forest land, means all the trees are got burnt. Okay, all the trees have been burnt, and only what is remaining? Soil is remaining. Okay, on this soil, what is going to happen? Herbs, small plants, herbs will grow. Herbs will lead to the formation of shrubs, still small medium sized plant. Shrubs will lead to the formation of woodland stage, and finally again forest stage will be formed. Okay, but now here this secondary succession is going to be little fast process. Why? The climax community will be reaching very more quickly. Why this is going to happen? Because soil is already present. Okay, what is the reason for this? It is going to be taking place quickly, it occurs quickly, result and climax community is also reached quickly because soil is already present. You can see here soil is present. Whole of the forest is burned, trees are burned, but soil remains on the land. Okay, so forest fire, all the trees are burnt. You can see here only soil is remaining. In this soil, some herbs, then shrubs, then trees, and then forest. Finally, in the climax community, forest will be formed. So, this secondary succession, the species that invade depend on the condition of soil, availability of water, the environment, as also the seeds or other propagules present. Okay, since soil is already present, we can say that the rate of succession is much faster and hence climax is also reached more quickly. Okay, now we can say that after studying all this type of succession, primary succession, secondary succession, xerarch succession, then hydrarch succession, secondary succession in plants, okay, in forest ecosystem, we can conclude that it is important to understand the succession, particularly primary, is a very slow process, maybe requiring thousands of years for the climax community to be reached. But another important fact to understand is that all the succession, whether taking place in water, land, is going to proceed to a similar climax community. At the end, that means at the end, the climax community will be same, that is mesic condition. So, at the last we are going to get mesic condition. Okay, so here we complete this chapter. For whatever is there in your exams, what is going to come in your exams is completed, and rest of the portion that we have not studied is deleted for this academic year. So thank you for today. We will, in our next lecture, we will start with a new chapter.